All right. Welcome, ladies
All
and
right.
gentlemen, boys and girls, to another episode of The Whatever Man, where we talk about, well, hell, whatever we feel like. I'm Theo, and he's.
MLK baby, back at it again with his brand new Vans. I'm joking. That's the damn Daniel reference. I don't think anybody gets it anymore. I
Yeah,
thought it's
I didn't.
hilarious.
I didn't get that one at all. But cool.
all right, Theo. So, Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah, man. Season 7 just finished up a couple nights ago, and what a hell of a season finale.
It's a finale. I give you. I will agree with you on that. Wait, so crazy thing though is we may not be seeing another season of Game of Thrones until 2019, which is ridiculous.
Absolutely ridiculous. It would be a travesty against mankind if HBO cannot find a way to get a season put out in 2018 and satiate the ravenous desires of the fan base, including myself.
I don't understand how does something like this happen. And you know what? Actually, this season started a little bit later because normally the series starts in like April or something like that, April March time frame. But I remember saying something they had to wait until winter to record or not to record, but the film or whatnot. But I didn't see much like northern scenes this season. I mean, in fact, I seen just the one Beyond the Wall episode. So what I don't
Yeah,
understand. I don't know what's
yeah.
going on.
I didn't even hear about that. That whole winter thing being a part of the production delays. I just assumed it's one of those situations where, when you have a blockbuster such as this, it's been going on for 7 seasons now. The cast tends to get popular and famous, and they get picked up for other gigs. And when you're trying to schedule a large ensemble cast, and all their different commitments, and make it work for your production schedule, it can get pretty difficult. So I assume that was the reason for the delay. But I guess the whole, wintry weather could be part of it too. I don't know. I agree with you though. There weren't too many, winter scenes that were really done anyway. More than just the Beyond the Wall one though. I mean, you think about it, Winterfell was covered in snow pretty much the whole season, and we actually finally saw a few snowflakes in King's Landing, so that was interesting. Oh, and by the way, before we go any further into this, there will be a ton of spoilers for
I am spoiling everything.
Yes, for all 7 seasons of Game of Thrones. So if you haven't watched it all and you don't like being spoiled, go get caught up and then come back and check out the rest of this podcast.
Yes, please do, because we need the views, y'all. This is episode 3 for us, and we need the views. Please come back and listen to our review. If you at least you do, you know what I mean. Please do. So hey, man. With that being said, let's get into it. Theo and I, what we've come by is we do this the good, the bad, and what they could have done better format. Then we get into final reviews. Is that that's about right? Right? That's how we do these review episodes.
That sounds about right. Yep.
Okay. All right. Fine. So what's up, man? Give me one of your goods. What you got?
All right. So good right off the bat. I loved the scene in the I believe they called it the Dragon Pit.
Oh wait. I'm sorry to interrupt. Before we do that, we forgot to do one thing. It's how did you feel about the season overall? I forgot that's what we wanted to start off with. Did you like it?
That's a good point. Yeah, I think I really personally enjoyed the season overall. I think that it definitely was a different season, and on the one hand, it was shorter. It was shorter than previous seasons, and that part was kind of like, oh man, when you get into the thrones, man, you start jonesing. You know what I mean? You need
Right?
that fix.
I need my fix, man. Give me my fix.
Exactly. So cutting a few episodes short this season was a bit disappointing, but I thought I actually kind of thought the shorter season helped it in some ways because it made it move so much faster than it usually does. I mean, this season 7, was warp speed compared to every other season thus far in Game of Thrones. And,
well, there's a reason for that though. There's a reason for that. And that's because the showrunners, are secretly, not so secretly, tired of making this show. They really want to move on to other projects. So they're cutting episodes, they're speeding up the story. They're really trying to push through towards the end of the show. I have no idea why that is, but I imagine it's hard filming a show like this, and it takes its toll. Game of Thrones has been out since 2011, so I guess that's a long time to be working on the same thing, So the worst kept secret is they are tired of the show and tired of making it, but HBO is demanding that they keep going forward.
Yeah, and I've heard similar, behind the scenes machinations. It always blows my mind when you hear stuff like that. I remember, also in the realm of nerddom, years ago, the rumor was that Chris Evans was tired of being Captain America. And I'm just sitting there like, how can you be tired of making like $15 million a movie? Like, I don't understand this.
Is he really tired of that?
That was what was said back, I think before even, it might have been around the time they were doing the press tour for a Winter Soldier. He openly said that, he did not see himself doing the Captain America thing for like a whole lot longer, and that he wanted to direct, like that his passion is directing. Now, what has he directed? I have no idea, but supposedly his passion is directing, and that's what he wanted to do. And then all of a sudden, by the time Civil War came out, he was 100% on board, down for the get down, as far as, Marvel goes. And I don't know what happened.
Because of that check. That's
what I figured. I think, but I feel like they pulled him into a back office and was like, nah, little brother, blood in, blood out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Gave him that conversation. But no, honestly, once again, off topic, but what I think is going to happen is I think spoilers for Infinity War. I think that at some point in either the first Infinity War movie or the second Untitled movie, that he is going to be killed off. And that's why he kind of changed up his tune to kind of, throw everybody off the set. But I think that's what's going to happen. But anyway, back to
that's cool. Pass. Oh yeah. Back to Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
Got it.
So
you're saying that you say you like it.
Yeah. I thought it was a good season, man. I thought, like, I like the pacing. I don't care that the Ravens would have had to fly at, the speed of a 757, and the Dragons would have to fly at the speed of a friggin' F-22 Raptor for that, those scenes to make sense. I do not care. I much rather have that than have them riding in a carriage for 5 days to get from Winterfell to King's Landing. Like, 5 episodes of them just being in a carriage, just freaking, like, I enjoyed it at the time, but now we're at the point in the show where we got dragons, we got undead, we got Unsullied, we got Dothraki, you know what I mean? We have got big battles that need to go down, and I want to watch them go down. I thought it was satisfying that in I think every episode they gave us a battle, whether it was Euron Greyjoy at sea, or whether it was the Unsullied marching in and taking over Castle Rock, or the dragons just going ham on the road. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
That was we got a lot of action this season, and I was all for it. About that action boss, as my man Beast Mode would say.
Well, yeah. All right. So let's see where I was entertained by the season. I was there every Sunday. I wasn't. This is it's my favorite pastime. And for y'all who don't know, I am the biggest Game of Thrones / A Song of Ice and Fire fans. I started reading the books after season 2. And I just fell in love with the books. There hasn't been a new book that's come out since I started reading the books. So They're on book 5 out of 7 right now, so it's hurting. It really hurts my soul.
Wait. I'm sorry.
The
Hold
show,
on. Just rewind for a second. You said you started reading the books in when now?
after season 2.
After
Game of
season
Thrones.
2. Okay,
That's,
so like 5
right.
years
so,
ago.
So the show.
So there hasn't been a new book in
so
5 years.
2012 was the last book, Dance of the Dragons. Yeah,
that's
man.
Insane.
So
that's insane.
I know it is, and you know what? And I put down the writer George R. R. Martin. You know, but the whole thing
who
is,
I like
you
to
know,
call
the
the
books
fat
are.
man.
Yeah, he is a fat guy, but body shaming on the whatever, man. Yeah, that's what you're getting. But it's But you know, anyway, so it hurts my soul that the shows overtook it, because I think he would have went a different direction. I know he would have went a different direction. It's almost guaranteed. You know, and you can tell when it's things that he would have done that the show spoiled, like the hold the door thing. You know what I mean? That is so George R. R. Martin that you couldn't see coming. You know, that it's a beautiful thing, and the show spoiled that for me. You know, and so I'm a butthurt book fan, to be honest with you. But well, that's the best way to describe me.
The hold the door scene was beautiful. I mean, I think that's probably the most significant scene of the show, I would say, of the 7 seasons. I can't think of one that sticks out in my mind more, sticks out in the minds of most viewers more than the hold the door scene. And it was so beautiful when you think about it. You know, the idea of that, you know, that means
he's been setting this up since day one. That's the other beauty of it, right?
Yeah.
Right? Because things from the first book, and the show doesn't have this foresight, really. You know what I mean? And you know, I don't blame him for that. But I mean, Hodor is in the very first chapter of Game of Thrones. Yeah. You know, which means like, how long have you been? I mean, that's a long time, man. Yeah. And that first book came out in '93, man, and that's brilliant. It's brilliant that you've been like, oh, you know. But all right, but anyway, you'll know how I feel about the show. I'm entertained by the show, but I'm just hurt that my favorite thing is being bastardized like it is. So,
well,
anyway,
on that point,
give me one of your goods.
Well, before we move on to the good, I think you make a good point.
For sure.
Because when I hear people complain about the show, they're usually book fans. And I think that there is something to say about, you know, when you like the original source material of something that's being adapted, you're always going to hold that source material closer to your heart. And when the adaptation strays away from that, you know, that's when the fanboy pitchforks and torches come out, you know?
Yeah.
And
I mean, same thing happened for Harry Potter, you know? I read all those Harry Potter books.
But you know what's so funny to me was, I don't know, like I've never, like, I'm kind of 50-50 on that type of thing, right? Because Harry Potter, you're right, is a great example. But I love the books and I love the movies. Like the things that were changed, they didn't bother me that they were changed. Now, it could be also because, you know, a lot of people, the movies got them to kind of watch the books, or excuse me, the movies got them to read the books. But I was already reading the books. So when the movies came out, some of the books I hadn't read in years. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like I had like the crispest memory of, oh, they changed that scene around. You know what I mean? It just wasn't like a real big deal to me. Now, on the other hand, like recently Netflix released its bastardized version of Death Note, and that had me ready to like climb, you know, the Empire State Building and start, you know, swatting planes just in anger, because it was so bad. And it was like, it so clearly didn't understand the source material. And that's where I think I understand where the book fans who don't like the show, I understand where you're coming from, because the show has definitely changed from what it was. And in that
change, there's a difference though with Game of Thrones.
What would you say?
I mean, there's a difference. Is that Game of Thrones isn't finished yet. Like all those products you just mentioned, the books and the story was told, right? And then if you go and butcher it, you know what I mean? But Game of Thrones isn't done yet. I don't understand this. it's madness, man. When you think about it, like,
Yeah, I'm not.
why would you?
I'm not sure this has ever been done before. Like, I'm pretty sure this is unprecedented. But I think the underlying point is that the tone that RR set up is different from the tone that the showrunners are using right now. It changed from being kind of like a political, religious sort of commentary to very just action-centered, war-heavy.
It's an action show now.
Yeah, it's an action fantasy show now, and I'm all for it. You know, I'm a huge nerd.
And you're on board with it. You're on board with it. All right. Okay.
Give me action fantasy.
So why? Tell me. So why are you on board with it this season? Give me what you got.
All right, so I think like one of the really good things, which is actually the first good that comes to my mind. For this season goes back to the point I was just making about the action, and the pacing of it gave us action pretty much every episode. We've been waiting for like, I don't even remember what season Daenerys gave birth to those dragons, but you know, whatever
into season one, last episode of season 1.
Yeah, so ever since those little puppy dragons came out, I've been wanting to see what they eventually are going to do. And they've had some glimmers here and there, you know, especially like when she was attacked by the dudes in the gold masks whose names I forget right now, the old masters. When that occurred, you know, and she was in the middle of the arena and her dragon kind of came in and started blowing people away, that was one thing. But in this season, to see the dragons like full on, flat out go into war, and then the Dothraki, like, we've heard about how fearsome and terrifying the Dothraki are for seasons, and we've seen them kind of with internal squabbles, but we've never really seen them take on a regulated military force like what would be put up in Westeros, you know, so. We were
like
kind
standing up on horseback, running at full speed, shooting bows and arrows. That's
jumping over the ranks to attack them from behind. Like, it was insane. Like, these guys were on another level. It was like the Westeros troops were like PlayStation 1, and these dudes were coming at them like the Xbox One X. Like, it was just on a completely different generation of. It was like a better comparison would be like Atari and the current generation consoles. Man, it was different. It was cool to finally start seeing those things come together, because we've been thinking about it for seasons now, about how Daenerys is going to come back and use these forces that she has mustered to take back what she feels is her throne. Not to mention the fact that these guys are all doing it because they believe in her. You know what I mean? Whether it's the Unsullied who she freed, or the Dothraki who watched her literally burn all their leadership down and walk through the flames. Like, she convinced them to cross an ocean, which they had never done before. You know what I mean? This, like, getting to see all this come to culmination has been really worth it, I think.
Well, you know, I don't know. The whole Daenerys invading Westeros is a big hypocrisy. That whole break the will thing. I'll talk about that in my bad, because that is one of my bads. But I will agree with you that the action in this season is better. This is movie quality action. Like, I think somebody needs to send OSHA a letter and warn, because how many people is Game of Thrones setting on fire? I swear they're setting like literally setting on fire. I feel like they're setting like 50 people on fire per episode, you know. And but speaking of action, my favorite scene this season by far was Euron Greyjoy. I am Team Euron all day, man. You know, because the way he came on the scene, he came on this I don't know, land bridge thing, and it just landed on their ship, and he's screaming the entire way down like a madman, and he's just running through everyone. I mean, I've never been so happy to see women assaulted on it. Like, I've never seen, he was just punching him in the face. He strangled one of them. He impaled another one on, and I was like, this guy. I mean, I was like, that's how you make a villain, everybody.
Yeah. Oh no.
Bravo.
Yeah. Euron is a great villain, and I will say, you could probably give us a better understanding as a non-book reader. I don't know much about Euron. I understand from listening to others that in the books they let you know how much of a badass he is, but in the show he kind of appears out of nowhere. He was probably mentioned in a past episode that I don't even remember. And so, can you tell me, like, why is that such a cool scene, seeing Euron be Euron from a book reader's perspective?
Well, all right. So, it's number one, the Iron Islands, the Greyjoys, and everything. They are way more complicated. There's more family members in that or whatnot. But it's actually in the books, Euron is no one to celebrate at all. He actually. He has Euron. To the Greyjoys family, they had the Theon's father or whatever, who Euron killed on the bridge or whatnot, and then there was two younger brothers also whatnot, and so it's like four of them. And Euron actually he used to like molest his younger brothers and things like that. We found that out recently.
Wow.
And yeah, right. You know, it's really dark, and Euron is kind of taunting the gods. He's actually killed 3 of his brothers.
Wow.
It turns out, yeah, right. You know, and you find this stuff out, and you're like, oh, this guy is really twisted. Game of Thrones, George R. R. Martin recommended to the showrunners, like, hey, you need to break it up into series of villains, and the show kind of did that, but they fallen flat a little bit. So like the first part, say you break Game of Thrones in 3 acts. The first part is Joffrey is the bad guy. You hate Joffrey. You hate Joffrey, right?
I hate him so much.
Yes, you do, right? And then in the second part, Ramsay's the big bad. You hate Ramsay. You hate Ramsay. Now in the last part, it's supposed to be Euron is the big bad. So he's even worse than Ramsay and Joffrey. That's what they're setting this up as. And he's someone to be taken seriously. In the show, they kind of turned him into this punk guy, you know, just... I mean, he's just thank God they made him a badass or whatnot, but he's way more twisted and dark, and he's just someone to be respected and feared. So
yeah, well, speaking of twisted, doesn't he like his crew is made up of like people that he's captured and cut out their tongues or something like that?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. The name of the ship is Silence, and all of his crews he cuts out their tongue.
That's crazy.
He's just because he doesn't want anybody telling him about what he's doing. He's sick on a whole nother. We don't even know. We just have an inkling. Spoiler right now. In the latest release chapter, Euron has a Valyrian steel armor, which is the first time anybody's even saying that. It's so he had the it's crazy. So he's the real deal, man.
That's pretty cool.
God, I feel terrible for praising him just moments ago, but well, so what else? Let's see. I'll tell you a good thing I like seeing this season. I like seeing Sansa in charge right now. She started pissing me off earlier, always questioning Jon and everything like that. But I realized at the end of the season that I like the fact Sansa has been victimized probably more than anyone else on the show. I can't think of anyone, you know, and to see her, you know, everybody saying you're a great leader and leading the way and you're the Lady of Winterfell and calling the shots and things like that. I like it because I think Game of Thrones is about the journey from who this person was. She was like one of these little girls who was interested in fantasy or whatnot, and now she's a ruler, you know, and I think that is a great character arc. I like seeing it, you know.
Yeah, I think she really redeemed herself, especially at the end of the season. They were dragging her on the net with all the memes, you know, with you know, each sibling kind of has their own thing that they're doing that's pretty badass, you know, like Arya is a faceless, and Bran is a 3-eyed raven, and Jon is the king of the north and a badass swordsman, and you know,
Jon Snow is Jesus, yeah.
Yeah, basically,
Jesus literally been resurrected. Literally been resurrected. Come on, man.
So I mean, it's pretty hard to compete with all that. And then it's like, so, you know, you have these memes where it's like they go through all that and you get to Sansa and it's like, and then she's just there, you know? So, the way that she actually was able to play Littlefinger, you know what I mean? And to pull a Littlefinger on Littlefinger was really, really impressive. And I thought it was a great, ending to her arc. Cause I kind of do feel like her arc is done. You know what I mean? Like, most likely, however this whole thing shakes out, because Jon is actually a Targaryen, she probably does end up being the Lady of Winterfell, but there's really no challengers or challenges left for her. I agree with you. She's been through the worst. I mean, she was married to, Joffrey and Bolton or Ramsay's Bolton and Ramsay's.
Nah, she was married to Tyrion, I think. She never married Joffrey, right?
That's right.
She was supposed to be
married to
right.
Joffrey. And then, she was given to Tyrion. And then after that, she was, married away to Ramsay's. So, but either way, like her connection with Joffrey, her connection with Ramsay's, like the two worst characters aside from probably Euron, that the show and Cersei, I don't care what you say, like all the crappy things that the men have done on this show, Cersei puts them all to shame. She is the baddest chick on the block. She is awful.
I love Cersei.
Oh gosh, she's terrible. She's a terrible, terrible person. But that being said,
no, she's just like, I'm not gonna take any of your shit, man. I mean, I love that, man. You know, even in a situation where she's supposed to like lose or be frightened, and everybody expects her to do that, she's like, no, I'm not gonna do what you want me to do because I'm the queen. I mean, like at the end of the season, right? Everybody's like, oh, she's like, I will come up there and fight your army, and then she's like, yeah, here's my real plan. You know, I was like, yes, she's Cersei. That's the Cersei I know and love.
She's something else, man. But Sansa, like I said, I think her arc is done now, but I do think it's a good end to her arc. She turned the tables on Littlefinger. He finally died. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Let's rejoice. I think the internet was probably more happy seeing Littlefinger get a slit throat than they were seeing Jon and Daenerys finally hook up. I know everybody wanted that too. Why everybody cheers for incest so much in this show is just beyond me.
No, because to me, the show made it so freaking weird. Okay, you make Jon and Daenerys hook up, right? You've been building it all season. It's supposed to be this beautiful thing, right? It's a love story. But then they have Bran narrating how they're related while it's happening. And I was like, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about this. Like,
yeah, I think that's exactly what they were going for. I think they wanted it to be uncomfortable though, because it does kind of, it makes it, you know, bittersweet, you know, in a way. Cause it's like, I will say this. I knew before the season even started, you know, once the kind of the set shots were released and the trailers were released, that, you know, once I knew that Jon and Daenerys were going to meet, I knew that they were going to try to make some relationship happen. And I thought they were going to force it.
Oh.
And I was shocked.
I felt like they did. To me, they did force it.
No, because the actors, and maybe because they're dating in real life, but they had such great on-screen chemistry.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. They're totally a couple in real life. Yeah. And they just had such great on-screen chemistry that it was believable to me. Like, it didn't feel forced. Like, I was expecting it to feel forced. And it actually just felt like it was like this natural process. And it was such a slow burn. I mean, they first meet in like what, episode 2? And so you have like 5 episodes of this attraction building and building and building. And then basically the very last scene of the last episode, you know, it finally culminates in the hookup or whatever. Or I guess it was the second to last scene. But,
right.
And I love the fact, I don't know, like, I love the fact that for years we've been saying R plus L equals J. And even when that was the rumor, I've had this conversation with multiple people who were like, you know, well, so does that mean that Rhaegar raped Lyanna? And I was like, well, maybe not. Like, it's always in the back of my mind, I was wondering, is it possible that it was consensual? Now, I never even thought about the fact that there could have been an annulment. So when Gilly dropped that little bit of information, and of course Sam ignored her at the time, when she dropped that, I was like, oh, okay, so that that means not
That
only
that was a weird scene to me.
it was.
That was a very weird scene to me because Sam's over there like brooding or whatever. He's like, oh man, the Maesters, they never listened to me. Blah blah blah. And Gilly's like, did you know that there was an annulment between this Prince Rhaegar and Sam's like, it's like, shut up, Gilly. I'm trying to complain to you. Like,
she was being so annoying. Like I totally understand where he was coming from because he's like, woman, I'm transcribing these scrolls. Like, I don't need you to repeat back to me the words that I've been writing over and over and over for however long, you know?
Well, then Sam should have picked up on that. That should have been pretty significant, considering that, I don't know. Sam should have been able to put, Sam's a smart guy. He should have been able to put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, it's a plot hole. I mean, it was a plot hole because he needed to put 2 and 2 together in the final episode when he meets with Bran. Like, that was why it was handled the way it was handled. And that's the one thing that I will, just to get into a bad real quick. One of the bads of the show is that there are plot holes and there are characters that have Valyrian steel plot armor that protects them.
Tormund Giantsbane apparently has plot armor now. I guarantee he is still alive after that wall attack.
The only reason why I agree with you is that it looked like they were taking great pains to not show him get killed. Like, with a dragon that is literally blowing up the wall that he is standing on, you at no point see him really be that close to the parts that are blowing up. So I agree with you. I think that they really wanted to make sure to keep him alive. And I don't blame him. He's a great character. Tormund's a lot of fun.
He's great. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna give you a bad too. I'm gonna tell you, and you know what? Before we get into the bad, so Jon Snow hooks up with Daenerys, despite Ser Jorah the cockblock, man. I swear. I thought that was hilarious. Like, they're sitting there and Jon's like, all right, we need to go to Winterfell. We should take a ship. And Jorah's like, so Jorah, he's like, yeah, Daddy, I think you should fly on one of your dragons, and get there. It would be safer. And she, like, they all like look at each other and they're like, Daddy's like, nah, I think I'm gonna take this ship. I was like, that is hilarious to me. I was like, man, this guy is trying his damnedest, but Jon Snow, he's whatever, man. This is what the people wanted.
Hey, man, he's the prince who was promised, man. At the end of the day, he has like a destiny to get that booty. So it was bound to happen.
It was foreseen and.
And you know what else? At the end of the day, they're Targaryens. They do this incest thing all the time. Half the time, they're like pure blood when they do it. So at least he's
they're brother and sister. So,
exactly.
To be honest,
at least there's more separation than normal. With the Targaryens.
Whatever, man. It's gross. So. What about those food transitions, man? Oh my lord! Like, did you notice that? Like,
they were
Sam
so
changing the bedpans.
Yeah,
and they were doing, Sam was the grayscale scene. The grayscale scene.
Yeah, at one point I actually like covered my eyes like a little kid. It actually turned my stomach, man. It was so disgusting. Like. That was another one of those bads where it's like, come on, like, we're all adults here. We don't need.
That was a bad for you. I thought it was funny. I thought that was funny.
To me, it was the equivalent of a fart joke. You know what I mean? It was just so immature. And don't get me wrong, I'll laugh at fart jokes, but that doesn't mean that I think that they're fine cinema. You know what I mean? And the whole pus and poop and food slop thing just was.
I agree. I agree with you there. All right. Point taken. All right. Let's get into this bad, man. Oh wait, last good. The CG is the best I've ever seen. Everybody says like, oh, it's movie quality, and I'm like, I don't know any movies that done it this good. I've never seen.
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think it's funny. You remember a couple years ago they showed like 2 episodes in IMAX. I think it was like I think it was like was it the Battle of Blackwater maybe that they had recorded in IMAX and they actually showed them at IMAX theaters or whatever.
Maybe it was the battle, not either that or it was the Battle for the Wall. I think.
I think you're right. I think it might.
One,
yeah, it was one of those two, but I think it might have. I think you might be right. I think it might have been the Battle for the Wall. I remember going to the IMAX theater with a friend and just like thinking it was just such a cool scene, such great episodes. Because I think it was like 2 episodes that they showed. And I was like, oh man, these are the perfect ones to show in IMAX. No, they could have shot this whole season in IMAX and shown like I guess it probably comes out to like about 9 hours ish, 10 hours in the movie theater, and I totally would have sat in the movie theater for 10 hours and watched it because it was beautiful. Like the CGI this time around was really, really, really good. They definitely deserve their props.
How devastating was that dragon fire? I mean, it is the equivalent of a nuclear weapon. I mean,
it is.
I was just watching
it is a weapon of mass destruction.
Blowing up everything.
Yeah, it is a weapon of mass destruction, and it was. I think so when it comes to fantasy stuff. Right. Like, the reason why us nerds love the fantasy genre isn't for the dragons or the orcs or the elves. It's for the perspective of the humans that they're inevitably dealing with. Right. So as cool as the dragons were, seeing Jaime's response, you know what I mean? Seeing the hope drain from his face as he watched the Dothraki horde trample everything, and then on top of that, a freaking dragon come out of the sky and start burning people alive. Like, it was at that moment that he knew this war is impossible to win. Absolutely freaking impossible to win. But he also knew that his beloved Cersei was never going to listen to him, was never going to heed his advice, and so he's realized he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. He knows the war is unwinnable, but he knows he has to fight it anyway.
I got that vibe from like Saving Private Ryan when Tom Hanks is just looking around and you see a guy with his guts hanging out and he's like shell shocked almost. I mean, it was the action scenes were on point, on point. But let me roll that into my bad right here, right? Since we're talking about Jaime and I think we're talking about that loot train scene. I think that's what they call worst name for an action battle piece. But the show doesn't have the guts to kill anybody anymore. This is a show that was made famous off the deaths of Ned Stark and Robb Stark and whomever, right? In the show, they have their 8 main characters and they refuse to kill anybody right now. The only important death we got was Peter Baelish, and he's been slithering around all season in Winterfell with nothing to do, just whispering in people's ears like he's Satan or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, come on. I mean, so, like, I feel like they're doing these death scares like how The Walking Dead does death scares, and that's why I feel like this is kind of corny, right? Like the scene up north beyond the wall when Tormund's getting dragged into by the White Walkers or whatever, and then at the last second they save him. That bothers me. Because I'm like, if you're gonna kill him, then kill him. You don't have to scare. You don't have to scare. If Jaime's sinking and floating to the bottom of the ocean right there, or he's about to get hit with a fire. I mean, please just don't do that to me, right? If you're going to kill him, then kill him. And I think that's where the show is straying away from the books and is getting a little fan fiction-y because they never done that before. If they killed somebody, they were going to kill somebody. They didn't have these close call moments. At least I can't think of any. Not this blatant to me. So they don't have the guts to kill anybody. I think Jaime should have died. I thought it would have been a great ending if Cersei would have had the mountain cut down Jaime in that last scene. I thought that would have been so tragic, and that showed that Cersei had no more humanity left in her. She had no more compassion left in her. If I would have saw that, and that would have been a crucial death. So but the show doesn't have the guts. Jaime's obviously going to go join Daenerys now and become a hero because fan fiction.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, though, like don't get me wrong, your complaint is one that I have heard kind of sung from the rafters amongst Game of Thrones fans, especially book purists, that the show just doesn't have the guts to kill anybody anymore. And the other point you made is very true. Like, first 3-4 seasons of the show, like the running joke was don't get attached to any characters because anybody can get it. You know, like there used to be no such thing as plot armor. Every single character could catch an arrow, period.
Right.
And,
yes.
You know, that's definitely changed. And I agree that it cheapens it a bit, especially with the death scares. It is cheap. You know what I mean? It kind of builds up this tension for no reason. Personally, you know, I thought when they went beyond the wall, I thought everybody was going to die except for Jon Snow. I thought that too. I thought everyone. I thought every single one of them was going to die except Jon Snow. And I would have been satisfied if maybe like, you know, the Hound would have made it back somehow, and maybe Jorah, because he literally just made his way back to Daenerys. So if the Hound and Jorah would have jumped on the dragon and gotten away, you know, maybe throw in Tormund because he's like a crowd favorite or whatever, and then everybody else died.
I wanted him to kill Gendry and be like, "You guys brought me back just to kill me." Like,
yeah, some people were thinking really that would have been ridiculous, but yeah, Gendry and Jorah I felt like had to survive just because they literally just came back, you know. But other than that, though, like even if the Hound would have died, I want to see the Clegane Bowl eventually. Like I want to see the Hound in the mountain, and because that's how I feel like the Hound arc has to end, is him killing his brother. You know, but I kind of feel like most of them were really expendable, and they didn't take advantage of that opportunity to kill anything.
I didn't like that entire episode. I didn't like that entire episode Beyond the Wall. I thought that was, to me, the worst episode of the season, with the exception of maybe the ending with the ice dragons. But where did they get those chains from? Is there a Home Depot nearby, north of the wall? I mean, please somebody explain to me where those chains came from. How'd they get the chains on the dragon? They established already that they can't swim, right? So how'd that happen? But you know, whatever, plot. So
yeah, that's look. You make really good points. You're right. They did establish that they can't swim. So how they get the chains on dragon? Everybody brings up where they get the chains from. I don't know, a tugboat. You know what I mean? Like whatever. There's an anchor. You know, who cares? But I'll concede the fact that how a whole bunch of non-swimming zombies gonna put chains on a zombie dragon. I don't totally understand that one, but all right. There's plot holes. But whatever. I won't disagree with you on that.
Yeah, I mean they don't want me to think about it. And I mean, these are the questions that I ask myself, and that's what ruins. You know what else? All right, this is real nitpicky. It ruined it for me at the end with the dragon just breathing fire at the wall, right, and tearing down the wall. I'm looking at the dragon's wings, and I'm like, he has holes in his wings. I'm like, that's not aerodynamically possible.
He's a zombie dragon. A zombie dragon. Are we seriously going to discuss what's aerodynamic for a zombie dragon? Really?
I don't know, man. I don't know, but I was I'm sorry. I don't want to talk about it, but the thought crossed my mind, and I was like, oh God, I am a horrible person. I don't even know how to have fun watching television anymore.
Right? Seriously.
I know.
Seriously, dude.
You know? Oh man, but that guy can breathe some fire, man. He doesn't have to refuel or anything, man. Just 5 minutes of laying it on thick. I'm like, jeez, you know.
He was going ham. Like his fire, I think, is more destructive than the fire of the fire dragons, which is interesting. And that was the other thing I was wondering: is that like blue flame or is it ice? Like I don't know. I think I look. They got a zombie dragon, dude. I'm all for it. Like that's what they need. That's what they need in The Walking Dead. If they want me to go back and watch that garbage ass show ever again, they throw a zombie dragon in that. I'll be back on it for real.
Right, take notes. Walking AMC, please. Take notes. Zombie dragons.
Why don't y'all have any zombie dragons? I'm not even sure.
You know what I want to do? I want to do like one of those focus groups. You know, where you sit in the room and you just watch a show and you click a button. And you see zombie dragons, and everybody just clink, 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 and they just clicking the button like, yes, we approve of that. Like
zombie dragons makes every show better. You know, I mean, I wish they'd have zombie dragons on Power. I don't know what. I don't know how you would fit it into the plot, but whatever. I don't care. Figure it out. Put a zombie dragon on power.
Nobody would question it. Nobody would question it. Nobody questioned it in this show, like he says.
50 Cent riding a zombie dragon. I'm down for that. Let's make it happen.
So what you got any other bads here?
Yeah, I mean, I think, there were, so I mean, all my bads really kind of have to do with the same thing. It's just kind of plot holes, stuff that just didn't make sense. Like, Tyrion's always been so smart, and then this season, all of a sudden, he's dumb. You know what I mean? There's really no explanation for why he's dumb. It's just that they need him to be dumb to move the story forward. So none of his plans work. His plans have worked for forever. For 6 seasons, his plans were working. All of a sudden,
zero of his plans worked.
Zero.
Yeah, they work comically bad. They work comically bad. That was hilarious.
I mean, for the guy who drinks and knows things, he basically went to just drinking.
Right. like Terry, you're an alcoholic, man.
Yeah, basically, like that's it.
He's like the one scene. He's like, hey, we're gonna send our people to capture Castle Rock. He's like, we're gonna send him, and then he's like, he didn't consider that they can leave. Like like take the castle. We don't give a damn.
And then the other, but I think my biggest bad with the show is just the fact that. Unfortunately, not every actor on the show is as good as every other actor, and there are times.
Daenerys Targaryen, the worst actress on the show by far.
Emilia Clarke is not good. She's not, and I mean, if you look at her at the work that she's doing, I can't think of like a whole bunch of movies that she's gotten an opportunity to do or anything like that. Like she just like nothing against her, she's lovely, but she just does not hold up any scenes. I think Kit Harington does a really good job at times, and at times,
yeah, he's not bad. Yeah,
not so much. But I think the biggest issue is that to me, 2 of the best actors that they have on the show are Lena Headey. I think it's Headey, one of those.
Yeah, and, Lena Headey.
Yeah, Headey, and Peter Dinklage, and.
You think? I think Peter's good. Yeah, he's good. Go ahead. I'll let you finish.
That scene of the 2 of them together, in that episode 7, where he's trying to convince her to change her mind on the truce, like that is what you get when you have 2 quality actors that get to play off of each other. You know what I mean? But for most of the show, Cersei is just talking to Jaime, and that actor whose name I can't remember. I just like to call him the guy that decided to be an Egyptian god, even though he's white for some reason.
His name's Nikolai. Who cares?
Nikolai should have known better than to be a damn Egyptian god because he's white. Point being, yeah. Most of her dialogue is with him. And he's just not very good. Like he's a little bit charming, you know what I mean? When you give him an opportunity to be charming or kind of funny, like he does that really well. You know what I mean? He's very believable in those scenes. When you want him to be serious and kind of talk to a literal monster, it just feels so hollow, So I think that's one of the
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, I understand what you're saying. I like
it's my point is, it's good having an ensemble cast and everything, but when you have a little bit of stratification where like you've got better performers than others and they're so far spread out, we miss out on those scenes of seeing like in the first season where like they were all together, and so like every episode was like an acting clinic. That was really compelling. You know what I mean? The first few seasons where that was going on, that was really compelling. Now I think the show does have to lean on the action a little bit more because everybody's so far spread out. And that's why I mentioned as one of my goods that's that whole sequence in the Dragon Pit. And then, after they left the Dragon Pit, that's one of my favorite scenes from the season just because it was just pure acting. It was multiple factions of people that just did not like each other. The Hound and the Mountain Tyrion and Cersei and Daenerys, like Euron and Theon. There was just so much tension, and then they kick over a damn zombie and just really liven up the party.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Speaking of that, Jon Snow completely nailed that presentation, don't you think? I think
definitely. he got his point across. That's for sure. But right. that's really my big bad for the season has been just the stratification of the really strong acting. You know what I mean? We don't get all the best scenes that we could get because there's a bunch of weak actors in the show. There's a lot of strong actors too. I don't know his name either, but the actor who plays Sir Davos, that guy is freaking amazing. I love Davos. I love the guy who plays Brunn. He's hilarious. Like there's just
he's
really
great,
strong actors.
But I think those guys are only good for the one-liners that they use them in, like Tormund and things like that. They're only good in like those small doses and stuff. But the real actors, I think. The actor who plays Theon Greyjoy, his name's Alfie something.
Alfie Allen.
Alfie. I think he is the best actor on the show by far. Him and Lena Headey. Yes.
Yeah, he's great. He's been given a lot to work with. Getting his junk chopped off and everything.
But that killed it for me. When he jumped off that boat. I was like, all right, I don't care if I ever see him again. You're done. You get one redemption arc in the game. You get one redemption arc in the show. You do not get two. He's now getting two. I'm supposed to be back on his team just because he beat up some bald-headed guy on a beach. Like, come on, man. Oh, that scene was corny. He was kneeing him in the balls. He doesn't have the balls, and I was like, what?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that would still hurt. Like, even if you cut those off,
I know.
You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure that would still hurt. So yeah, it was.
If I need a girl in the crotch, it hurts her, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I assume I never had
sure.
I never resort to that level of fighting.
or fighting women at all. We here at the do not endorse hitting a woman under any circumstances.
No, we don't. But I mean,
but
still,
I feel you.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it was corny. It was definitely corny. So. But yeah, I think I don't know.
Yeah. But all right, so I think one of my worst bads here is the Arya Stark storyline. And now when you put Arya stuff,
stop, no,
what?
You're crazy. How is Arya's story? Arya's storyline is the best. Like, first of all,
not this season.
She's a total badass. This is the best Arya that we've ever gotten. We finally get the culmination of 6 years of what the hell is going on to, oh my God, she's a badass now. Like, yeah, this is what we've been waiting for.
I am about to destroy your bubble, man. All right, check. This is it. This is what it is. Okay, this is what it is. What were they trying to establish? Whether she was a badass? Okay, I got it. She's a badass. Number one, she should not be going toe-to-toe with Brienne of Tarth. I don't care if she is an assassin. She trained for 2 years. Brienne of Tarth trained her entire life against grown men. She fought the Kingslayer. She fought the Hound. There was no way. Yeah, you might be able to get some quick jabs in and things like that, but at the end of the day, there is no way you are anywhere on the same par. She was gone over there with Bravos for 2 years tops, fighting a girl with a stick or something like that. I don't care what you say. There's no reason why. But that's not even my point. It was still fun. It was a fun scene to watch, right?
It was a great scene to watch. You can tell by the Spartan kick that Brienne pulled off on her was to illustrate the fact that Brienne was pulling her punches a little bit. Like, understand.
Kick, I like that.
Yeah. Understand, Brienne was not fighting her with like any sort of killer intent. You know what I mean? And then Arya wasn't fighting Brienne with any sort of killer intent. Because what was the very first thing that she said? And in the lesson when she was talking to Podrick, she said, the very first rule is don't fight somebody her size in the first place. If Arya really wanted to kill Brienne of Tarth, Brienne would never see her coming because Arya is an assassin. The whole point was just to illustrate that she has skills. That was it. Not to say that she's actually on the same level of Brienne, but that she has a different set of skills than what Brienne has, and that she can take care of herself.
Why did they have that? Rocky 2 ending with Creed and I think it's Rocky 2. Yeah, like where they're both like you don't know who's going to win. Like freeze frame. Yeah, like right.
Like I said, right? It was to illustrate that Arya was very competent in hand-to-hand combat. That was it. That's like she can handle herself. But yeah, you're right. If Brienne wanted to destroy her, she would have destroyed her. But if Arya wanted to kill Brienne, she would never even see her coming, and she would never know what face she was using to do it in the first place. That's the whole point.
But that's not even that's not the problem. I'll let that see. That was just a cool scene. Okay, that's what we wanted to see. That's fine. What I didn't like was Arya being a crazy person ranting about this letter. Now I watched this scene, right, and you wonder, were they setting up Peter Baelish the whole time? Not true. I think what happened was Arya really was going crazy about this letter or whatnot, and Sansa was really confiding in Littlefinger, and it was a moment when Littlefinger said that Arya, she wants to be the lady. She did this, mental gymnastics to say that Arya wanted to be the lady of Winterfell, and then that's when Sansa was like, "Oh, he's trying to play me because Arya doesn't want to be the lady of anything," Exactly. And then I think that's when she snapped. When she snapped it, and she's like, "All right, screw Littlefinger, he's got to go." But everything before that with Arya freaking, like there's a scene where Sansa's in a room and she's like looking for the note or something, and she finds Arya's bag of faces, and Arya just pops up in the room, and she comes out like from Jigsaw from the Saw movies. She's like, do you want to play a game? And I'm like, what the hell is that?
Creepy.
Like,
that was really creepy.
I was like, so what it really was is they had nothing for Bran, and they had nothing for people to do in Winterfell. They knew they were going to kill Littlefinger at the end of this, and they had nothing to do, so they had to create some tension right there and give him something to do, and just to get to that end goal of that. That was all that was about, and it was just horribly written. So,
yeah, and I look, I can't disagree with you on any of that. Like that, I don't think it was well written. It was clearly. I think the worst thing that writers can ever do is form a conclusion and then write their way into that conclusion. It's much better when you just write things naturally and then let the conclusion be whatever the conclusion is. They needed to create some tension in Winterfell to make it interesting, to go back to Winterfell, to do some filler, I guess. And they also needed to kill Baelish. So that was how they thought that they could accomplish it the best. I agree with you that Arya was definitely overreacting. Now, there's an argument that could be made that Arya's whole life for the last 6 seasons, really 6.5 maybe, has been dedicated to vengeance against those who have wronged her family. And if she really did believe that Sansa was one of them, someone who had wronged the family as a whole, I do believe that she would kill her. But it didn't, they never at any point made it believable that Arya would actually believe that. They never made it believable that Arya would hold it against Sansa writing that letter, knowing that it would have had to have been under duress. Knowing that she would have never written that letter otherwise. Knowing the type of monster
it didn't matter. It was so long ago that it really didn't. Her father was still alive when they wrote that letter. When she wrote that letter,
yeah, it was a long time ago. But I mean, if Sansa was actually a traitor, it wouldn't matter how long ago it happened. If Arya believed that Sansa
even in the show. Even in the show, Catelyn and Robb saw that letter and it was like, "Oh, Queen's words, instantaneous." They completely dismissed it.
Of course.
So I feel like, yeah, and so to me, it fell flat for me. I didn't get it, but yeah.
No, that was understandable. It was, I thought I agree with you. It wasn't very well written. The bag of faces part was kind of creepy.
I win. You agree with me? Yes. All right, show's over, everyone. Let's all go home now. Like,
hey, even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Hey, speaking of things missing, where doesn't Jon have a wolf? Where's Ghost? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, he
I
left.
don't
He
know,
left
man.
him up. He left him at the wall with the Night's Watch, if I
At
remember
the wall that's
correctly.
now destroyed. You left him. You left him
No,
there.
no,
The wall
that
that's.
was East Watch by the Sea. I don't know where the rest of the Night's Watch is though, because they're not. I don't think that they're at East Watch by the Sea. They're at the other
No,
Night's Watch
well,
post.
there's three castles. East Watch
Yeah,
by the Sea. Then they got the Castle Black, where most of the
there you
stuff was
go.
before, and then
Yeah, Castle
they
Black.
got another one. They got Castle Black, and then they got another one called it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Shadow something. Shadow Tower, I think it is. But they never showed it in the show.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think Castle Black is where Ghost is right now. The dire wolves are interesting. I would love to see Arya's dire wolf come back with her little wolf pack.
Oh, okay. This should have been in my good. That was the saddest thing. I
That was sad.
literally got choked up when I saw that. Like she and Arya's just like she's like I'm going home to Winterfell. Come home with me, and I'm just sitting there like, please go with her. Please go. You know, and but I thought that line was kind of bad because the line was, "Oh, that's not you," and it had to be explained to me
It did.
what that meant. I was like, "That's not you."
Yeah,
I'm like, "Oh, is that another giant wolf running around? Like, what
yeah,
does that mean?" And then I was like, "Oh no, it's that callback to that's not me," you know. And
yeah.
so it was
Exactly.
kind of weird how they delivered that. But
It was. It's when it's explained, it becomes a great line. The problem is that a great line should never have to be explained. So
right,
it is a bit of a
exactly.
catch-22.
So what's up, man? Should we get into these final these ratings here? Which you want to get into that now? You got anything else? Anything before we move on?
No, I think I think rating sounds good. For me personally, I'm actually coming off the top of the head with this because I didn't even really sit down and think about what I would rate the season as
Yeah,
a
me
whole.
either. Yeah, me
I
either.
think I'm gonna go with um I think I'm gonna go with a C plus. And I was kind of,
You ranted and raved this whole time, and you're going to give this a C.
I am, and I'm gonna tell you why. For me, C plus means slightly above average, and I was really kind of torn between like, well, do I want to give it a B, B minus, C plus, and it really came down to B minus or C plus for me because I didn't feel like it quite met the level of B, like being a solid good, right? And I just think what it comes down to is for all the action, for all the fun that the season gave us, it was too short. 7 episodes. That's just not. Game of Thrones is supposed to be 10 episode season. I'm sorry. You gotta give me
Yeah,
10 episodes.
right.
And then
Yeah.
um you know
I can get
we missed
in a world
we
where I can
missed
get
out on
13 episodes of Luke Cage getting shot up with bullets and stuff.
exactly.
I can only get 7 episodes of it's
Yeah, like, and then also, there was, like I said, there was a lot of the dialogue was missing, opportunities for the better actors to kind of play off each other. Those scenes were kind of missing for me. So I think it's a solid C plus.
Oh man, that is shocking and appalled. That's red wedding level shock that you gave that C plus because
I
I
don't, what's again?
you
Look,
you
I'm telling
you
you,
ranted for 10 minutes about ice dragons earlier or zombie dragons.
hey, I can
And
enjoy something and still be critical of it at the end of the day. And like I said, a C plus is not a bad grade as far as I'm concerned. C
no, it's
plus
not.
means
It's not a bad grade.
slightly above average. There's a whole lot worse than slightly above average out here.
Wow. Well, even after all that and my whole entire page full of bads, for me, I'm giving it a B minus, man. That I'm giving it a B minus
Okay,
because
now I'm
of the
shocked
things.
because you
What?
gave it a higher grade than I did.
I know. I don't know. We completely had opposite. That's funny.
That is funny.
I'm giving it. I'm giving it a B minus because at the end of the day, I saw the loot loot train scene or whatever, and I mean, just watching that dragon be unleashed was just a sight to behold. I was like, wow. We've been waiting, 7 years for this? And I finally saw that. And it was everything I thought it would be.
That was the best action sequence of the entire series, hands down. I mean, as good as the Battle of the Bastards was, the battle at the wall, the loot train scene was the best action sequence we've gotten in the 7 seasons of Game of Thrones, for sure.
Yeah. Oh God. All right. Oh wait. I'm sorry. I gotta get into one thing right before because I forgot to. Well, no, because I told you about why Dany's a hypocrite earlier, and I said I was gonna get back to it, and I forgot about it completely.
Oh yeah. And tell me about that.
Yeah. All right. Well, the whole Dany's a hypocrite thing is because everything she's doing makes no sense. She's saying that she wants to be in peace and prosperity and break the wheel and everything, but yet you are invading with 3 dragons, an army of freaking Dothraki and unsullied foreigners, and I mean it's a complete contradiction. It sounds a lot like the United States, you know what I mean? Kind of, just ruling with an iron fist. Like, we're gonna be all about freedom and stuff as long as you don't do what we disagree with. You know what I mean? It's
we'll bring you. We're going to bring you freedom if by force if we have to.
Yeah, right. I mean, and then I'm like, I'm like, you're gonna tear apart the 7 kingdoms to save it. That is, and the only reason she's doing it is because she feels like it's her birthright. Yeah. That is a ridiculous thing. If she was a really truly great person or whatnot, she would be like, you know what, screw my birthright. She would have fixed Meereen instead of just leaving it, in the ashes and burning and rotting away. So I think her whole argument is it's a bad one, and thank God the White Walkers are coming and everybody's like, oh, we need you. So that I guess that's perfect timing. But if they weren't there, fire and blood, right? Fire and blood.
Yeah. Her motivations do feel a little bit weak because it does feel like it's a war that's coming from a position of arrogance on both sides. Cersei feels like it belongs to her. Daenerys feels like it belongs to her. And that's kind of why she's doing what she does. She'll say that she's doing it because she just believes that she's a better choice for the people. But, you weren't thinking about the people when you burned up all that food and grain that could have helped sustain people through the winter. So, yeah,
I thought she was going to steal it or something. She just blew it up. That was weird.
It would have made much more sense for her to have taken it. But yeah, I definitely agree with that argument.
Yeah. Well, you gave it a C+. I gave it a B-. Daenerys is an evil queen, and I think that's all I got, man. Why don't you take us out of here?
All right. Well, thanks, ladies, gentlemen, boys, and girls, for listening to another episode of the Whatever Man. We appreciate you lending your ears to this fine podcast while we just discussed everything good, bad, and indifferent about Game of Thrones Season 7. If you want to check us out on social media, you can find me under Blurting Out. That's like nerding out, but with a B and an L instead of an N. And what about you, MLK?
Oh, shoot, man. Again, social media is not there yet, but you can like and subscribe, leave a comment on this video, and I will gladly return the call. Why do I sound like I'm leaving a voicemail message? What the hell is that? Whatever. Hey, whatever, man.
Please like and subscribe to this podcast after the tone. Beep.
After the beep. All right, let's get out. Peace out, y'all.
Peace.